Hello, everyone. This is Albert Espinoza again. This is week 4 of our MPA 510 History and Theory of Public Administration for Dr. Sundstrom's class at Cal Baptist University. And this week's presentation is titled Private versus Public Sectors. In this week's overview, I'll be talking about the similarities and the differences between the private and the public sectors. I was very fortunate early in my career to work for a company called Parsons Transportation Group, which is a private firm. And now I currently work for the City of Rancho Cucamonga, which is a public agency. So I'll dive into both companies and I will be talking about, again, the similarities, differences, and in the end, does it really matter if you work private or public? Some similarities between the City of Rancho Cucamonga and Parsons are the hiring process. If you want to work for either the private or public agency, you have to apply, you have to be qualified, and you go through a competitive process and an interview to see if you can make it and work for either the private or public sector. You think of the Pendleton Act, which was for government agencies, but this applies for both because they want to hire people based off of merit and qualifications. Below that, you see two organizational charts, one for the corporate sector and one for the public sector. And you think of Luther Gulick's Pause Corp, where there's a chain of command, hierarchy, organizational structure. So that can be found in both the private and public sector in Rancho Cucamonga and Parsons. And the only difference is both those two companies or company and agency do not command, dictate, and order the staff. They're more like happy staff. And you think of Mary Parker Follett, and these two organizations value their individuals. They treat them with respect. They empower them, and they value and encourage them, to have growth and opportunities. And more than anything, they both offer a work-life balance, which, doing that, whether you're in the private or public sector, will yield happy employees, productive employees, and in the end will create positive results for both Parsons and the City of Rancho Cucamonga. Some of the differences between Parsons and the City of Rancho Cucamonga are the who the organizations directly serve. So, for example, City of Rancho Cucamonga, we serve the people. We serve the residents, the customers, and the business owners that live, work, and play in the agency. And for us, we want to create a sustainable agency. We want to have good infrastructure. We want to make sure we're financially responsible, that we have a balanced budget, that our revenues and our expenditures are within line, so we can have and maintain a beautiful agency. When it comes to Parsons, for them, it's more about answering to the board of directors or the investors of the company. For them, when I worked at Parsons, time is money, and you definitely want to work towards profit and growth. So you want the organization to grow, and Parsons is a global corporation now, as when I first started back in 2000, where it's at today. And so, growth in acquiring other companies, in gearing into different ventures and expanding its reaches. So again, those are some of the differences between the City of Rancho Cucamonga and Parsons. So there are some differences and some similarities between Parsons and the City of Rancho Cucamonga, but in the end, does it really matter which one is better, whether you work private or public sector? Again, I had the opportunity to work both in the private and public sector. One thing I do want to point out, which is it's pretty interesting, is Parsons has a saying for the company, delivering a better world. And for the City of Rancho Cucamonga, they want to create a world-class community. So for both Parsons and the City of Rancho Cucamonga, they want to make a better world for whether it's the agency or from a global perspective. But in the end, it's funny because when I worked in the private sector, the work I was doing was for the public sector. And so even right now at the City of Rancho Cucamonga, we hire private firms to do some of our work. So the private firm does work for the public agency, and the public agency serves the people. So in the end, it really doesn't matter because ultimately everyone is serving the people, whether the public agency hires someone from the private sector to help us with the work. In the end, both the private and public sector are there to serve the people and, create a better world and community for everyone. I hope you enjoyed this week's presentation, and I can't wait to see your comments. Thank you and have a great one.